This month on 219 West, a Brooklyn neighborhood hard hit by Sandy gets ready for the holidays by pulling together.
I read the other day a beautiful statement. The path to heaven is paved with works of love. You know, in these past few weeks, I've seen that love over and over and over again.
Just in time for the holidays, a cookbook that teaches seniors in the South Bronx how to make traditional dishes with healthy ingredients.
I wonder how could I survive all these pastries and candies, because I used to love it.
From critics of the state to prisoners of the state, the latest on the Russian punk rock group Pussy Riot. From Kinshasa to Tucson, women, basketball, and escaping the Congo. Welcome to 219 West. I'm Justin Mitchell.
And I'm Kate Traficante. It's been almost 2 months since Sandy, a storm that inflicted unprecedented damage on the Northeast. While President Obama plans to ask Congress for about $50 billion to rebuild, New Jersey Governor Christie has called for $37 billion, and New York Governor Cuomo has asked for $42 billion.
But beyond the numbers, there are the unquantifiable losses and disruptions to daily life. Over 100 lives were lost. Some businesses are permanently gone. Several subway and rail lines are still not back up and running. And thousands of people will not be sleeping in their own beds this holiday season.
One of the places where the effects of Sandy are still truly felt is Gerritsen Beach, a small peninsula in southeast Brooklyn. 219 West Kizzy Cox traveled to Gerritsen Beach to investigate just how different this holiday season will be.
This isn't the way Frank Slavin planned to prepare for the holidays. But Hurricane Sandy's changed all that for residents of Gerritsen Beach in Brooklyn. His one-story home was all but destroyed by Sandy's massive storm surge. He and his family were watching TV in their living room when his eldest daughter, Bernadette, realized the water had reached the sidewalks. That's when they decided to move their cars.
Everybody's cars are floating all over, hitting us while we're trying to drive out. Now, I didn't see my daughter's car because I'm seeing everything else go on, and the water's coming up higher and higher and higher.
The water, which rose to 4 feet high, completely devastated their home. The Slavin family was planning to celebrate Christmas by making the final payment on their mortgage. This spring, they planned to raise their house so it would be safe from minor flooding.
We were finally starting to see the light of day, and we're back to square one. And less, because now we're homeless. At least square one, we had an apartment or a little house or something. Now we had nothing. Where do I go?
For now, the Slavins and their eldest daughter are staying with their youngest daughter and her husband. Other Gerritsen Beach residents, like the Empelizzeris, lost their basement, but their house is salvageable. The night of the storm, however, they found shelter at Resurrection Roman Catholic Church. Despite the fear and uncertainty of those first hours, the residents of the largely working-class, close-knit community pulled together.
There's a lot of good things happening. I mean, I think it's incredible how people pull together, and there's always, no matter what religion you are, you know, what nationality you are, it doesn't matter because it's a commonality here. We're all going through it, and just people want to volunteer and help.
The spirit of volunteerism can also be found at the Gerritsen Beach Firehouse. In the days following Sandy, the volunteer fire department became a hub for donations. Residents could also count on a hot meal, comfort, or a hug. Since then, it's also been the site of unexpected acts of kindness. Doreen Garson, acting chief of the Gerritsen Beach Fire Department, describes the moment the Buddhist Tzu Chi Foundation made a surprise offer.
We were able to give 2,100 families vouchers for $600 for each household.
As generous as that act was, residents are still left with the task of paying for damage from a storm that's left them anything but high and dry. Even though Gerritsen Beach is in Zone B, which means residents didn't have to evacuate, it's actually right near the water. So now residents who didn't have flood insurance have to depend on FEMA to help them rebuild their homes.
Well, we've been fortunate because FEMA's given us money, and I've heard other stories about FEMA, but for us personally, they've been good to us.
The Mpalazaris knew their rights, but for many others, figuring out what to do after a disaster is bewildering. That's why South Brooklyn Legal Services held a legal clinic at the firehouse.
I think that there's a tremendous amount of confusion right now in terms of what people's rights are and what services the city's providing. How does insurance work? Why did FEMA deny me?
The legal clinic is a way to help residents work on the financial aspect of rebuilding. But with the holidays coming up, residents need an emotional boost as well. At this time of year, the streets of Gerritsen Beach are usually ablaze in Christmas lights and decorations, but not this year. So the community is also serving up a healthy dose of holiday cheer. While Resurrection Church cheered up the kids with a holiday party. Boys and girls got their faces painted, played Twister, and got a chance to just be a kid again after a traumatic time. Jamie Pelicano's twin boys have been showing signs that the storm affected them.
It feels so good to have some normalcy for a minute and with less chaos and put a smile on the boys' faces. It's been very stressful, so it means so much to get a break from that and do something positive with the boys.
Community groups will sponsor 3 more holiday parties at the church before Christmas. In the spirit of the season, all the children who attend will receive gifts. But Father Farrell, the priest of Resurrection Church, has already seen powerful examples of the Christmas spirit in the wake of the storm.
A man came in, and easy telling, he went through the storm. His clothes were dirty. He looked disheveled. But from his pocket, he pulled out 2 cringly, wet dollar bills and put them on the table and said, "Here, this might help." And I was amazed by it, because this guy probably lost everything himself.
Father Farrell believes gestures like that one are the key to Gerritsen Beach's spiritual recovery.
I read the other day a beautiful statement. The path to heaven is paved with works of love. In these past few weeks, I've seen that love over and over and over again.
Love is helping the Slavins cope as well.
We're definitely going to rebuild regardless. We decided, my husband and I, we're a team. We always have been, we always will be.
Kizzy Cox, Gerritsen Beach, Brooklyn for 219 West.
From Superstorm Sandy here to a storm of a different kind in Russia. The issue? Free speech. The players? President Putin and a punk rock band in Moscow. Sarah Pizon has the latest.
There are the Russian punk rockers known as Pussy Riot. Nadezhda Tolokonikova, Yekaterina Samutsevich, and Maria Alyukhina. They were sentenced to 18 months in prison for hooliganism against the Russian Orthodox Church. The judge called them a danger to society, hooligans who incited religious hatred. Because of this, Pussy Riot used Moscow's main cathedral to lash out against President Vladimir Putin and the Russian Orthodox Church for supporting him. Samutsevich, who was released on legal technicality, says their performance was political.
Problems that we sang about in the song are all political. Again, the problem of sexism, inequality, propaganda of extremely conservative values that discriminates a great number of people, authoritative policy of the government, which discriminates, in my opinion, all citizens of Russia and is inhuman. Naturally, all these problems are political. The form that we used is, of course, unusual. It's political art.
And the location the group chose was no accident.
The girls did it at Church of Christ the Savior because the place is a sham, and it's a symbol for everything that is a sham in Russia.
A sham, he says, because of the corruption and political cronyism between church and state. The Russian public, by and large, has not been sympathetic to this form of protest.
Russians have not been so supportive of Pussy Riot. They are perceived as being outrageous and perhaps anti-Russian.
Anti-Russian because feminism is not seen as something being really Russian. Putin has always emphasized masculinity and heterosexuality.
And the degree to which Pussy Riot really taps into the opposition to the sexuality that Putin had portrayed, I think that it undermines the regime.
And that's exactly the goal of Pussy Riot.
I want people to start thinking differently, think politically. I want independent thinking to appear somehow. I want there to appear civil self-consciousness and opportunities for political, legal and cultural education, because as far as I see, people lack it, and so do I.
And they're getting plenty of international support.
I think they have paid the price for this act, and I pray for their freedom.
Big musicians like Madonna spoke out along with world leaders condemning the verdict and sentence.
So important to work so that they can come out as soon as possible.
The Guerrilla Girls, an American feminist group that helped influence Pussy Riot, says the girls are feminist superstars.
It was a really courageous and inspiring thing for them to do. And I think it was great the way they visualized it and caught it in a video clip.
In countries such as France, Israel, and the Ukraine, people wore Pussy Riot-style face masks and demanded their release, accusing Putin of silencing free speech and dissent. In New York, the feminist press published Pussy Riot, a punk prayer for freedom, a compilation of letters, songs, and courtroom statements.
There was this new dimension I could see, and that Elizabeth and I were sure was going to be an important part of the historical moment.
The two jail members, both young mothers, are currently serving their sentences in penal colonies. Tolokonikova is more than 350 miles away in Mordovia, a region full of camps that were once part of Stalin's Gulag system. Alyokina is in Perm, which is 900 miles away from Moscow. She was recently moved to solitary confinement following tensions with other inmates. The Pussy Riot case is an uncomfortable echo of a much darker time in Russian history. Sarah Pizan, Manhattan.
In the studio with me now is Russian TV journalist Kate Vizkrbentseva, who's been covering the story in Moscow. Thanks for joining us, Kate.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting.
So it's been a couple months since the story broke. What's the latest right now?
Well, you know, they are still the news, but not breaking news, I mean, because we have a few huge scandals, corruption stories, which caught the public attention. So, but when, you know, some of our, well, maybe it's a president or governmental, just mention or say the two words, I mean, Pussy Riot, every journalist opened his eyes and said, what did he say? What did they say? But they are still the news.
So you've been covering it back home.
Yep.
Have you seen how they've been covering it here?
You mean in foreign
yes,
press?
In the West.
Yes, yes. And I think that it was not very objective because it's, you know, it's very easy to make that girls heroes, because there are three young ladies. Two of them had kids, and in the other side, it's you know, system who's pressing the freedom of self-expression and something like that. Many of foreign journalists made them heroes, and they are not.
Why do you say they're not heroes?
You know about them? Yeah, the story in the Darwin Museum, you know that, right? Mm-hmm. When they did a kind of a show. And the story about grocery, when one of the Pussy Riot girls tried to, put a chicken in her vagina. So it's a very, you know, very unacceptable thing in Russia, because many Russian people are very Orthodox. So they are just, kind of a freaky girls, but not heroes who step against the pressure of our government.
So how is the story being covered in Russia then?
I think that many Russian journalists, but not TV journalists, unfortunately, but many Russian journalists were more objective because they see the whole key, the whole part of it, and the whole story. They try to be objective. I mean, and of course the evidence was not enough to put that girls in a jail for 2 years. It's everybody understand that. So, but they were more objective because they didn't try to make that girls heroes and making
put them up on a pedestal. So what's the Russian public reaction then? That's the journalists. What have the people been saying?
There were two sides and two opposite opinions. One of them, the people who were pro Pussy Riot, right? It's a very active part of Russian social. It's people who are using social networks, who are very interested in situation about all that stuff, and who was versus the versus side. They're very, it's mostly older people who are not in touch with the modern technologies and who are very, orthodox, as I said. But it's a Russian society now.
So has it changed at all since it's been some time? Mm-hmm. Is it still that strong pro and con? People, I guess people are a little bit tired of all this, of that story, because it was like, it was like a tsunami wave, and Pussy Riot was everywhere, and from every, media you can heard about them all the day. So I guess people just tired and just, they say, we don't discuss it anymore, we're tired. So I guess there are changes in our minds. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks. Thank you.
It's great to have you.
Civil war has been raging on and off in the Democratic Republic of Congo for almost 2 decades. Most of the fighting has been centered in the east, 1,000 miles from the capital, Kinshasa. But even there, the war is being felt. Sarah Kazadi introduces us to a young woman with hoop dreams who faces major obstacles to making these dreams come true.
This is Losmi Lutaya's second home, a concrete court in Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The 16-year-old spends most of her time honing her hoop skills. The hard work has a purpose.
Je tiens à aller aux États-Unis pour étudier, apprendre quelque chose là-bas et revenir dans mon pays pour aider.
Losmi believes a basketball scholarship overseas is her ticket to a good education. She says reaching her goal of being an IT specialist is almost impossible if she stays in the Congo. The high school junior's tuition costs $750 a year. That's almost 6 times what many Congolese households make annually. Losmi's coaches pay for her tuition. She's one of the lucky ones. 7 out of 10 Congolese girls don't go to school. The Congo's constant warfare has ravished the country, both socially and economically. Some girls turn to prostitution for money.
On appelle ici phénomène Tchel pour la jeune fille. Elle nourrit la famille.
The Congo Leadership Initiative and other nonprofit groups provide guidance and support to Kinshasa's youth. These organizations say they've asked the government for financial help, but to no avail. Youth Minister Banza Mukalai counters that the government would like to help, but just can't afford to.
On est confronté à des priorités prioritaires qu'à un moment, ce qui peut être réservé à telles actions apparaît minime.
Losmi will temporarily leave all of this behind. Her hard work has paid off.
Arizona, c'est une ville aux États-Unis. Hein? Et il fait très chaud. Il fait très chaud là-bas.
She's earned her basketball scholarship. Losmi will be the fourth Congolese player head coach Patrick Cunningham has recruited to Arizona Western College.
And you can see that the motivation that they have to get, not to get away, but just to improve things and have a better chance at doing something down the road for them. So to provide that opportunity is something I'm fully for.
The two Congolese players currently on the roster are adjusting to their new home away from home. Center Emily Manandibu and small forward Lizette Longomo say the road has been tough both in the classroom and on the court.
Nous, quand on était là-bas, on croyait que si tu viens aux États-Unis, directement tu prends la vie et tout et tout. Non, c'est pas facile. Il faut bosser, quoi. Il faut travailler dur pour réussir dans la vie. Comme on travaille toujours là-bas, ici, peut-être fois 3, quoi.
Ce qui est dans la phase de la maille, parce que vie aux États-Unis est difficile. C'est toqué dans la basket, c'est selon vie sociale.
Despite the hardships, the pair says Losmi will benefit from coming over. If everything goes as planned, Losmi will soon be here, playing guard for the Lady Matadors. Coach Patrick Cunningham says he expects her to leave the Congo in April or May of next year so that she can be here to start summer school. In Yuma, Arizona, I'm Sarah Kazadi.
Now to give us a little bit more background on this story, we are joined in the studio by Sarah Kazadi. Sarah, thanks a lot for joining us on 219 West.
My pleasure, Justin.
So this was a really interesting and idiosyncratic story that you found. Can you tell me a little bit about how you found out about Losmi and how you decided to do a story about her?
Yeah, I remember reading a long time ago that there were two Congolese players on the Arizona Western College women's basketball team. And I remember thinking, wow, it's kind of odd. I thought I was alone because I played college hoops
And
too.
you're from the Congo, right?
Yeah, I am from the Congo. So I reached out to the coach, and he told me that, yeah, there are two girls from the basketball team. They're from Club Atari, which is in Kinshasa. I told him I was going down there. I asked him if there were any other players about to make the transition, and he pointed me in the right direction.
So Losmi is now definitely going to be coming over to the States and going to school in Arizona, right?
Yeah, she's definitely coming.
All right, can you tell me a little bit about what she's doing right now to get ready to get over here?
Yeah, right now it's all about, making sure that her English is getting better every day, making sure that her hoop skills are getting better every day too, because she has to adjust to the game, that we play here. So yeah, she's all about improving herself. Now that she sees that the confirmation is here and she's definitely gonna come, it's all about getting better now.
So in the United States, we're all very interested in the story about the M23 uprising taking place in the eastern part of the country. And I know you spent the summer in Kinshasa. Could you tell me a little bit about what people are thinking about what's going on in the eastern part of the country in Kinshasa?
Yeah, as you said, it's on the eastern part of the country. Goma and Kinshasa are very, very far away from each other. And I think that that plays out in the mindset of people living in Kinshasa. A lot of them feel very distant to the atrocities and the war, the rape, everything that's going on the eastern side of the country. So they're concerned, they're active. I covered a protest when I was in Kinshasa, so they know that it's happening. But as far as, feeling directly affected, I didn't really see that as much, so.
Okay, you have a lot of family in Kinshasa, is that correct?
Yeah, I do. The majority of my family is still living in Kinshasa. I was born there and moved to the United States when I was 8 years old, so every close family member is still in Kinshasa.
What would you say are their major concerns right now?
Yeah, anybody that you speak to in Kinshasa, my family included, will tell you that the biggest concern of the Congolese people and the people living in Kinshasa is poor leadership, bad government, feeling like your leaders do not care about you. The thing that I noticed the most when I was in the Congo is that there's a huge gap between rich and poor, and a lot of people think that's a reflection of, poor leadership and the people in power not doing enough to uplift the people that are struggling.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for joining us and sharing your story on 219 West, Sarah. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, Justin.
All right, thank you.
Finding a balance between food and fitness, especially during the holidays, can be a challenge, even more so as you get older. A new initiative in the South Bronx is teaching seniors how to cook traditional dishes and maintain a healthy diet. Melissa Noel has the story.
arroz con frijoles negros, roast pork, arroz con dulce. This is Bronx home cooking. These distinct dishes represent what could be called the melting pot of cultures in the South Bronx. But in the borough that has the highest rates of obesity and diabetes in the city, how can the area's elderly residents enjoy their traditional dishes and still follow a healthy diet? Lincoln Hospital answered this question with the release of its first Seniors Cookbook, a collection of traditional recipes that were modified to reduce fat, sodium, and sugar.
When I was younger, I would accompany my grandmother to the doctor, and often because she had to be on a restricted diet, her physician would tell her she had to give up specific recipes, and she would whisper to me, "I'm not giving that recipe. It means too much to me. It's part of our culture."
Memories of her grandmother are what inspired Jimenez Hernandez to come up with a way to help seniors preserve the flavor of traditional dishes, but lose the fat. Sweet Bites and Savory Sensations contains 44 recipes contributed by local seniors representing Central and South America, the Caribbean, and Nigeria.
My father was a baker, a cake baker, and all my family. So he made different kind of cakes and puddings, but they are very loaded with cholesterol. I wonder how could I survive all these pastries and candies, because I used to love it.
Once the recipes for the book were chosen, each dish was modified to incorporate healthier ingredients. For example, fat-free milk was used instead of whole milk in this flan de queso recipe. Use of fat-free milk can reduce calories by 30%.
So it's nice. Now we can substitute a lot of things and they taste the same.
The cookbook, available in English and Spanish, will be distributed to hospital patients who are at risk for diabetes, hypertension, and other health conditions.
Nutrition is the most important thing around health for seniors in particular. And as you get older, you'll realize that you like comfort food. And comfort food is the food that you used to eat as a kid. And unfortunately, in a lot of our countries of origin, and from Mexico originally, our foods were not usually done in a way that was very healthy.
The hospital says it hopes to create more cookbooks in the future. In the meantime, the local community is also getting involved. 5 area restaurants have added select items from the cookbook to their menus. They are offering discounts to those who try them. Yolanda's restaurant on East 149th Street chose the rice pudding for their menu, which uses low-fat milk and less sugar. Modified recipes like this rice pudding don't necessarily mean modified taste. Since being added to the menu here at Yolanda's restaurant, it's been a big hit among customers. The cookbook is just one battle in the fight against rising health concerns in this neighborhood. South Bronx residents are twice as likely to have diabetes as residents in the city overall. The obesity rate in the South Bronx is also higher than the rest of the city. Over 25% of adults in this community are obese. In addition to diet, lack of exercise among city residents is another leading cause for obesity and other health problems. In the South Bronx, 54% of residents reported not exercising at all. The CDC recommends 20 minutes of vigorous exercise 3 times a week, or 30 minutes of moderate exercise 5 times a week. Fitness instructor Charity Lynette encouraged seniors at Lincoln Hospital to add exercise to their daily routines.
I just want to let you guys know it's not too late. Working out is, adding exercise to a balanced diet is something that helps lower your cholesterol, lower blood pressure, assists with circulation, other chronic diseases.
The fitness lesson and release of the cookbook could hardly be more timely. As New Yorkers get ready to indulge in holiday meals, following the recipes in this cookbook can help seniors and people of all ages create healthier feasts for a happy new year. Melissa Noel, The Bronx.
That's it for this month's edition of 219 West. I'm Justin Mitchell.
And I'm Kate Traficante. We'll be back next month with more stories from the 5 boroughs and beyond. Happy holidays.